Have you guys seen the dating space change at all?
Well, a couple things, right? So
The solution is supposedly going to be AI and robots and all this stuff.
You think people are just going to date robots? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying
You guys weren't big fans of like marriage or even monogamy with one person. Like, where do you guys stand on all that today?
yeah, so our stance on marriage is this.
What's up, well builders? Today I got a repeat guest. These guys are always controversial, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about today. I got Fresh and Fit. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up, man?
what's up, man? Glad to be back, bro. The wealthy way.
Yeah, baby. So I was on your show. It did great. We taught some people real estate. Last time you were over here, we were talking about dating, relationships, and a lot of controversial topics. Have you guys seen the dating space change at all the last year?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people getting into it. I've seen more women get into it, which is interesting always. But yeah, it's definitely, I think people realize that it's something that can definitely bring them a little bit of attention. So they're like, hey, let me go this route.
I think both parties are unhappy, especially nowadays with the dating market, and they want to find a way out. But the solution is supposedly going to be AI and robots and all this stuff. So we'll see what happens, but it's looking pretty bleak for most people.
You think people are just going to date robots? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying it's possible people go to that angle, especially guys.
Yeah.
Because like the hassle of getting married, losing your money, or even just headaches, why not just get a robot and then go back to work?
Dude, I just saw Netflix release this movie with Megan Fox.
Megan Fox.
Yeah.
Yes. It's scary, but it's almost
That was
okay.
that was the conclusion, essentially.
Thoughts on this movie?
I watched it.
Yeah. You've seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
It's really good.
I forget, it's called like Subservient or something.
Yeah, that's it. Subservient.
Yeah, I mean, the conclusion was like Megan Fox is this AI, and then inevitably she ends up, having sex with this dude, and it's just like you start to think about it, and you're like, yeah, I could see that probably happening. Like, it just is like the more just extreme version of debauchery as time just goes on.
Yeah.
It's like people started with prostitutes, then it was like magazines, and then porn, and then it's just like it seems like that's the final step.
We had a guy on the show that spoke about the future of OnlyFans and the metaverse, and basically they were saying that like in the future people are gonna have their favorite, I guess, P star in the actual metaverse, and they'll like have a body or like this like what do you call it, sex dolls in the room, and you kind of like connect yourself to the headset, and then you go to town. I'm like, it's possible, but you never know. It's kind of crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously that it ain't good, but
Yeah.
if that does happen, like then the dating just gets even worse.
Yeah. I mean, well, a couple things, right? So as far as like women entering the space, I guess, to talk about dating, right? They talk about it from like a male perspective, which is always comical to me because women really can't tell you anything about how to attract themselves. They're really bad at it. We've done this experiment several times on our show where a girl will say, well, yeah, it's good to have female friends because they'll tell you what you need to do to be attractive. And we run this little skit, this skit where we'll tell the girl, okay, we want you to be the guy. I'm going to be a girl, and I want you to build attraction. And they can never do it. They'll say, oh, yeah, let me just give you some money. You want to go shopping, whatever? And we all know this is not going to work. But it's always interesting when you put the shoe on the other foot, they're not able to actually deal with their own objections and be attractive as a man. They think they know, but they really have no concept because dealing with women as a man is a completely different experience as dealing with women as another woman. Now, with the robot thing, we're already starting to see it. Sex robots have been like a thing now for a bit for guys. I think within the next 20 to 50 years, big variance, but I think we're going to see a lot of guys getting these sex dolls and sex robots because they're becoming more and more human-like. Now, is this good? No, because anything that takes away from the nuclear family is bad. But what I'm realizing is a lot of guys are struggling with women. A lot of guys are realizing, is it even worth it anymore? A lot of these girls are, promiscuous, rude, combative, and non-feminine. So a lot of guys either A, leave the country and become a passport bro, or B, they say, I'm going to just whack off to porn. That's why we have, the most guys addicted to porn that we've ever had before.
Yeah.
Erectile dysfunction's on the high. So
Tough.
Just so you know, like, I'm not an advocate for this. I don't think it's good for men to not be with women, but
Yeah.
I do foresee that we're going to see guys getting into this whole sex robot industry. Lamar Odom actually recently went viral for having a sex robot that like looked like Khloe Kardashian, I guess his ex-wife or something like that. It was all over the place on Twitter.
That's crazy.
And I was saying like, this is
the future.
Microcosm of what's going to happen later on because a lot of guys are struggling. So I see this as something that a lot of guys are going to do.
Yeah. And I mean, last time we talked, right? For anyone who's watching this who's never seen my stuff. So as a Christian who got married young. You know, I've been married 11 years now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congrats.
And thank you. And so, I mean, we both had a lot of different perspectives last go around, but it's interesting because we both agree of like, that's not a very bright future for humanity and guys. Like, you know,
terrible.
Porn is not a good thing. Sex
Terrible.
robots are not a good, none of these things are good things. And it's like, everybody agrees on that. And it's like, yet they're becoming more and more addictive. They're causing guys more depression, more loneliness, more everything. Like, how do these guys stop it from your guys' perspective?
Well, we did an episode on how to, quit porn, because I agree with you. I think pornography is the devil. I think alcohol, drugs, gambling, and pornography, all those 4 things are like the worst things for society. But unfortunately, it's kind of like been a response to feminism, right? The average guy really struggles to get a woman, and average women no longer want average men. So I think that's their way to cope with it. But it starts with getting off of porn. A lot of guys are addicted to porn. I think that's one of the biggest issues.
I think it's a norm because look at social media today. You got streamers pushing gooning, which basically means like you're gonna go jerk off.
Right.
You got people saying, you know what, it's normal. Don't relax. Like sex is normal. And the more we move away from God as a whole society, it's almost like if you're saying, here's a replacement. Do what you will and do whatever you want. And that just means you're gonna do, depraved stuff.
Yeah.
So I think for most people here, going back to God would be the best way. But then again, how do you quit porn? How do you stop doing these things? It's because to you it's normal. It's a norm now. So it's just natural.
And the other thing too, because I already know some people might say, well, Myron, you guys bring porn stars on your show and you guys have debates with them and you guys talk with them. And I look at it like, yes, I understand that bringing on OnlyFans girls every now and then, because the majority of the girls that come on the show aren't on OnlyFans, even though people think that.
Yeah.
The reason why they think that is
They're
because
loudest.
they're the loudest and they're the most memorable. So they're like, oh yeah, I remember this stupid chick. She was on your show, blah, blah. But yeah, you didn't see the other 4 or 5 girls there that are regular chicks.
Yeah.
But the reason why I think it's important to have these discussions and talk with girls from different viewpoints, different professions, and then even girls from the sex industry is I need guys to understand this is how modern women think. And what I've come to realize is, regardless of education, regardless of background, religious backing, etc., culture,
Yeah.
a lot of women tend to have the same belief systems a lot of the times, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And this is what guys need to kind of prepare themselves and understand and know. This is the world that we're in now. You got to adapt to the new normal, and you really have to be on point and understand that you have to be the leader in the relationship, because if you don't, this is who's going to be leading you. So I think that does, and I always tell people, I don't do the show for the girls. Like sometimes the girls, like we've had girls come on and say, hey, look, I quit OnlyFans because of you guys. Hey, I was going to get into OnlyFans because of you guys. I lost weight because of you guys. Like, yeah, it was tough, but I took the message. A lot of girls don't, have that ability to do that, critical thinking, realize, this is probably bad. Most girls can't do it. We do the show for the guys so they can wake up and realize, yo, don't fucking pedestalize these chicks, because quite frankly, a lot of them aren't worthy of being pedestalized. But if we could get through to a girl, it's great. What I've noticed is we do have a good amount, about 10% of our viewership is female, which I was shocked. But when I look, those women almost always watch the show with their boyfriends or their husbands.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're in a relationship, which is good. You know what I mean? They get it. But like girls that are single, a lot of times, like, you guys are misogynist. All right, dude. Yeah.
Well, I mean, don't get twisted. This is a 2-party solution, because I know women definitely are our main focus for letting guys know what not to do, but men as well, because look at it this way. Most guys nowadays are not up to par. They give up on life. They don't really work hard anymore. And they say, you know what? I'm just going to make her pay for it, because now men have become women, women have become men. So it's almost like roles have been reversed, and it's like, at this point, it's normal now. So
Yeah.
it's scary.
Yeah. Like the thing that keeps coming back to me is, so I've had, I don't even know if you guys would call it still red pill or whatever, but like, I've had a lot of those guys on, and I've had a lot of Christians on, pastors on, all these different varying viewpoints. And it's funny because like everybody agrees about the same problems. It's like, yeah, porn's a problem. You just mentioned all these different types of vices or problems. We mentioned, getting in shape. Like everybody agrees on all these things. I guess, for a lot of people, even with my audience, who probably look at you guys and maybe your belief system with women and everything else is like, do you guys still, I think last time you guys weren't big fans of like marriage or even monogamy with one person. Like, where do you guys stand on all that today?
You want to take that first?
Yeah, so I think we still stand strong on our marriage point of views, because obviously men are being destroyed still in the marketplace and court system.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys have the hope of getting married because they believe there's going to be this one true woman for them, which I think is a way to think, but not nowadays because of the current culture, society, social media.
Well, hold on. Let's tell them what our stance is on marriage first. Yeah. Some people might. Yeah. So our stance on marriage is this. I believe in it as a institution. I think it's great. I think it's the best way to raise children. However, I don't like the way that we do marriage now, which is with the state involved, where she could divorce you, and she's incentivized a lot of the times where she could take your money, your resources, etc. So if you can find a way to get married without the state involved, do it. That's my thing. So I believe in marriage. I think it's a good thing, especially from like a religious standpoint. And then obviously it's the best way to have a nuclear family. But the way that we do it now in modern society with the state involved is the problem. So if you could do it without the state involved, I'm for it. That's our stance on marriage.
Yeah, you can, like, for example, go overseas, marry over there, but marrying here under the actual government is an issue.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? Somebody had told me this. In California, if you're married for like 10 years and you get a divorce, you owe alimony for life.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's scary.
I was like, dude, like, how does that make any sense?
And this is why I tell guys, like, look, if you want to get married, like, you got to understand.
Don't do it in California.
Yeah, like that's the other thing. Yeah, like
Don't do it anywhere, bro.
Yeah, like that's the problem is that, like, depending on where you live, depending on how the family court systems are, that will dictate, your ability to get married with peace of mind. Because the problem is that, right, here's the thing: you might marry the girl, right, and you love her, everything is great, but then maybe something turns sideways, maybe you do something that pisses her off, or the other way around. People change, and what ends up happening is she realizes, oh, I actually get rewarded for leaving this guy. He has this much amount of money. I haven't worked in a few years. So it incentivizes them to divorce. Then we look at the stats, 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women. And why is that? Well, it's because we have an asymmetrical family court system that sets the guys up for failure. So it's not that we don't believe in marriage. We just don't believe in the way that it's done now with the government that we have. So if you can find a way to do it without the court system, without her leaving you and taking all your money, do it, especially if you got kids.
You know what's scary? I was at breakfast this morning at the Henry, right, down the street. The guy was sitting there, older white guy, seems very mature, and he's talking to the waitress. He said, I've been living here for 50 years plus. I used to live in a nice house outside of the strip, 5-bedroom, 3-bath, amazing house with a family. Now I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment. I was like, how does this happen? He's successful doing his thing. Then I asked him, brother, I'm just curious. I don't want to bother you, but, like, what happened? Divorce. And then it hit me. This is common. You find a wife that you think is great, and you may be great too, but people change. They get bored. They say, you know what, this life is cool, but I can find happiness elsewhere. And then they say, like you said before, I'm rewarded for leaving somebody with no, issues at all.
Yeah.
I walk away, I get what I want, and I can move on safe and sound. So to me, it's like, yes, marriage is great, or was great, under the rules of the past, but nowadays it's like a death sentence because as a man you lose everything pretty much.
So,
and another thing I'll say, because you said you're a Christian, right? So the guardrails we had in place to kind of keep female hypergamy at check are gone. We used to have shame, religion, society, right? It used to be where if you had a woman had a child out of wedlock, it was a big problem. If you had, if you were a single mother, it was shamed.
Yeah.
Now we champion single mothers. Now we champion promiscuity. Now we champion women exploring their options and getting the best guy that they can get and not necessarily sticking to their husband. So the guardrails that we had as a society to keep women from doing all this fuckery, they're gone. So men need to understand that not only are women incentivized to leave you, they're incentivized to do better and make themselves happy. It's not about duty in marriage anymore. It's about happiness.
So my perspective is, from a secular point of view, let's say you're not religious, it's hard to argue with anything you're saying, right? Like, because, if you're not religious, technically marriage should not even really mean much to you. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
It's a legal commitment, like you're saying. We're going to own things together, all of that stuff. Obviously, from the Christian point of view, our belief is that you get married once and it's for life. Two people become one flesh. And and it's not to say that Christians don't get divorced or anything, but there is a statistic that Christians who pray together every night get divorced 1% of the time.
That's great.
The statistic, right?
Damn.
And so you start to think about these things, right? If you go like from a Christian, I can only speak from a Christian point of view.
Sure.
I can't speak for Muslims or whatever, right? But you know, you go into this and it's like, well, we're committing this literally for life. And I think a lot of just normal secular people, they don't think like that. Like they maybe like aspire. They're like, yeah, this is, but they're not really like committed to it, right? Whereas like for us, it's like, dude, if we have problems, like, hey, we're truly committed to this for life. Like we're going to figure out how to resolve this. And on top of that, you know, it's just like if you have the same objective source of truth, it's hard to really like change in that way from a moral standpoint, right? It's like if your spouse wanted to go join OnlyFans tomorrow, it's like, well, that would clearly like it goes against everything we believe, right? Whereas if there is no objective source of truth between both of you, it's all subjective.
Yeah.
Then it does become hard because it's like, well, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking like it's not that big of a deal. So I think like a lot of people who get married, especially when they're, you know, not rooted in faith, they don't even really have aligned moral values or have any idea of where they even want to go.
That's a very good point. I would give a little rebuttal here just
Okay.
because I agree with what you're saying. But nowadays, Christian people are following what they believe is right. So let me explain.
Subjectively.
So in context, they're going to say to you, okay, I believe in the Bible and what it says, I believe in God.
Yeah.
But realistically, they're partying on Saturdays,
Yep.
going to church on Sundays.
100%.
And then to them, it's like, you know what? I feel like the verse says this, so I'll interpret it this way. And we had on the show before. This girl was arguing that in the hierarchy of what God said, women are on par with men. They're equal to men. I'm like, where in the Bible does it say that? Nowhere. So it's like, they'll read a verse out of context and say, you know what? This is true.
Yeah.
This is my belief. And that's scary because imagine marrying someone like that.
Yeah.
You think that they love God and they love Christ, but what do they really love? Themselves. So to me, it's scary because you never really know someone's true allegiance to God. It may seem a certain way till death do us part, but to them it's like till I feel like.
Well,
do
you
us
know,
part.
so my wife and I were young when we got married.
Yep.
But the first thing we did was pre-marriage counseling. And so like things like that got addressed right out the gate.
Yeah.
And so the pastor's like, hey, you know, you understand like the husband's the head of the household. The husband is the leader of all of this, right? You know, God created woman to serve man alongside. She's
Damn
supposed
right.
to be the helper.
Make that sandwich.
Hey, bro. yeah.
But the point was, she was there to support.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of guys, and this is kind of like what you were just talking about too, because a lot of things you're saying are like actually Christian beliefs, whether Christians realize it or not. It's like,
Well, I grew up in a Muslim household.
Yeah.
And this is with all the Abrahamic religions. We think this way. But sorry, continue on.
So it's like a lot of guys are like, well, you know, the Bible says she needs to submit to me, like, and all these things. And it's like, I learned this from a pastor. His name's Erwin McManus. And, you know, the word submit means to come under, sub, and come under their mission. So that's what the, you know, I don't know if it's Hebrew or Greek or whatever the word is in the Bible, but to submit is to come under and support his mission.
Yep.
The problem is most of these dudes don't got a mission.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
And we're like, why doesn't she support me?
yeah.
Fool, what is there to support? You
Yeah.
don't do anything.
And I want to be clear about that too. We get a lot of, one of the things we're known for is, you know, oh, you guys just shit on women all day. Actually, if you like take hours spent, we spend way more time shitting on men. It's just that no one watches that because no one
doesn't go
cares
viral.
when you criticize men. They only care when you criticize women. And one of the biggest things we say, I tell guys all the time, you don't deserve to have a girlfriend if you can't support her.
Right.
What the fuck do you mean 50-50? Like, no. Like this
exactly.
50-50 and all this other shit. Like my girl's here with me now. She travels everywhere with me.
Yep.
She doesn't pay anything. She takes care of my dog and our dogs. And she lives a great life, right? And I think it's women need to be in their feminine. The only way they can be in their feminine is when they're not fucking working, right? They're kind of helping you and doing what they're supposed to do. They're not designed to go out there and work and labor and all this other stuff. Like, no. So I think a byproduct of why we have so many masculine women is because we tell them you're equal to a man and it's going to be 50-50 and pay the bills and stuff. I think that's ridiculous. Like, if I want 100% authority over my woman, I need to also have 100% responsibility over my woman. So I tell her, hey, we're going to do X, Y, Z, but she doesn't have to worry about anything because I cover everything.
Yeah.
So guys want a girl that's going to be submissive and do what they say, but they can't pay the fucking bills. So it goes both ways. I think if you want that authority that a lot of guys yearn for, you need to be responsible too.
Yeah. You want to hear an ironic thing? So, you know, I had a guy on the pod, successful guy. He's like 40 years old. He's like, yeah, dude, you know, I'm really kind of trying to find a wife. And I go, what? Well, what's the deal? He's like, well, it's hard. Like, is she coming after me for my money or all of these different things now?
Yeah, sure.
And I said, and he goes, I want somebody who, wants to be that traditional wife, right? But I also want somebody who is like self-made and, doesn't.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Cooked.
bro, like they're not the same person.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you realize, and I've had that happen multiple times with entrepreneurial guys who are, they're made and they're just like, yeah, I want that wife who does those things and supports me. My wife's a stay-at-home wife and mom and all these things, and she's amazing. I do not want her to work.
Yeah.
I want her, like, our marriage is great doing it the way God intended. But on top of that, like, these guys, they somehow think they want this like entrepreneurial hustler woman as well, and then they don't understand why they don't want to be stay-at-home moms.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want a Layla Hermosi. Alex Hermosi?
Yeah.
They want his wife. And it's funny because she's geared on working.
Yeah.
Not
She ain't gonna be a
doing-
stay-at-home mom.
Exactly. You can't have both. You have the one or the other.
Yeah. And honestly, dude, like, I'm just gonna say, entrepreneurial women are not what you want as a guy. as if you're a dude and you're really like on it like that, like the last thing you want is a fucking chick that's gonna, be like you. Unless you're gay, like why do you want to date someone who behaves just like you? It's fucking ridiculous, right? Like if you're a guy and you're high testosterone, you're typically gonna want a more feminine, submissive woman, and you're only gonna get that with a girl that isn't like you. So, I think the reality is a lot of guys like they because here's the thing. Women tend to be delusional like this too, where they say, oh yeah, I make all this money, I want a guy that can match me or whatever. And it's like, well, guys that meet that requirement a lot of times aren't going to want you in return. Now, are there some guys that sit there and say, oh yeah, I want that, like your buddy that mentioned it? Sure, until they actually date her and realize how masculine and annoying
Well,
she
that's
is.
the thing. They're like, I can't find anyone who's like it. I've tried dating, and it's like, yeah, they don't exist. They're two different people.
They're completely different people. They think their opinion matters and shit. Like, no, like, again, people get mad at me, but I truly believe that as a man, you're the fucking dictator. You dictate how things go. You tell her what it is, and that's how it goes. And like a lot of guys don't understand this. They think, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go into a relationship. It's gonna be 50-50, and she can do she could do everything that I do. And then that sounds great on paper until you guys are hitting heads, especially if the guy's like a go-getter.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna be a go-getter too, and she's gonna question things that you do, or she's gonna be a headache. Like it's not worth it. So
now both parties have an issue.
Yeah.
They both want what they can't have.
Yep.
So see the disconnect there? So how do you resolve this is what people's question is. And I think from our show, we're combating both sides. We're combating, okay, you know what? You want a man that's 6 figures, 6 foot tall, and in shape, right? But are you the woman that he wants? And vice versa. So I think understanding that helps you go as a foundation. But again, people don't understand it. They just say, you know what? I want this, but they don't know why they want it.
This actually happens in business. So John Maxwell calls this the law of the lid. And so people always be like in business, like, you've been to our office and stuff. So you see employees and different things. And I'll get business owners who are like, yo, I can't find any good talent. Well, the reason you can't find any good talent is because you're not that good. Like the reality is you will only attract talent up to the level of your talent, right? If somebody's just so ultra talent, why are they going to come work for me? They're already doing their own thing, killing it.
Competition.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm only going to get people to the level of my leadership abilities, the level of my creativity, the level of, the revenue we make. And, I can't go get a guy who wants to make $1 million if we don't even make $1 million.
Yeah.
Right? Like that guy, but that guy is ultra talented. Those guys exist. And so it's the same thing with dating and women and men. It's like, you want like the world, you better level up.
Yeah, I think men need to understand that if you want a girlfriend that's going to be, follow your lead and submit to you and everything, you need to be that guy, and you need to be like, she ain't going to work, bro. Like, you have to have this mindset of, my girl's not going to work. I'm going to take care of everything. Because I also look at it like crazy. How could you be a man and then expect your girl to work where another man could tell her where she's got to be and what she's got to do? Now some other dude has authority over your wife. That's crazy to me.
True.
Like, that's absolutely crazy to me. So I look at it like, if you're going to be a man and you want a girl to submit to you, you need to be able to take care of everything where she can be in that submissive position.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think women should work. I really shouldn't. Unless, especially if they're in a relationship with a guy. If they're working before, okay, I get that. You want to get education, get a job beforehand. But once you meet that guy and you're in a relationship, I don't think she should be working. And that's the guy's responsibility, not hers. It's your job to retire her. And if she does want to work, it needs to be elective. I'm a big believer in, if she wants to have like a little side hustle here or whatever it may be, that's fine. But she keeps that money and it's all elective. Like, she doesn't have to work. She could tell her boss, fuck off at any time.
Got it. So one thing I've actually thought about a lot with guys on the show talking about this is like, so I got married young, right? And
How old were you when you got married?
my wife just turned 21.
Yeah.
I had just turned like 24. Okay. So, and we dated for, I was playing pro baseball at that time.
I was going to say this when you were playing baseball.
Yeah. So I was making no money. I was broke, so didn't have money, didn't know how I was going to provide. She's just, we meet in college, all this stuff. But we dated for like 6 months. I went off to play baseball, came back, proposed. We're engaged for 6 months. I go off to play baseball again. Then we get married. So, we didn't really date or do anything that long. But, for me, when I look at it, getting married young allowed me to not have a lot of issues that guys who wait have. So, for example, one is I didn't have to worry about whether she wanted me for my money or not. There was no money.
Yeah.
So that's one. Two was that there's like way less baggage and bad habits when you're young, right? Not
Well, especially for the female perspective.
yeah, you're not like sleeping around. You're not like doing all these things. You're not already married and divorced and like all these things that happen as you just get older, right? Like you look at the dating pool and it's just, you're just naturally going to have more baggage and different things, right? Everyone. But third thing is, okay, if you do want that wife who's going to be a traditional wife, okay, well, my wife never really had to work, she was a middle school teacher for a couple of years because she wanted to be. We didn't have kids. She didn't really have anything else to do. So she wanted to be. And then the moment we had kids, she was done. And that's what she's done ever since then.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. And she just loved helping kids. And that's, I was making a lot of money flipping houses and she's making 40 grand a year just because she wants to.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But that type of woman, it's hard to say that, okay, let's just say now these girls that these guys are trying to get, they've had a career now for 10 plus years. They've been working because obviously they're not married. They got to provide for themselves. They got to learn.
Survival.
Yeah. Like how all of a sudden does like a girl going to just turn that off after building a career, learning to survive, developing these more masculine traits because they had to. Like it's just so hard the older a girl gets.
Yeah.
Developing all of those habits and thinking and everything else versus like a young girl, in my case, she never had to provide for herself. And it's like, it's just natural.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, and people see so feminists would try to shame you and say, oh, so you want young women? That's predatory. And it's like, no, it's the same exact reason why a woman wants a man who's older and established, right? The things that make a man attractive take time to acquire versus the things that make a woman attractive, don't take time to acquire. So, and a big part of it is like those bad habits not getting rooted in, right? Like if a girl goes ahead and gets her career and has multiple boyfriends and gets older and older, what ends up happening is she starts building rightfully so in a lot of these cases, a lot of disdain for men. She deals with guys that are losers, guys that aren't leaders, guys that make her go 50-50 on certain things, guys that aren't able to provide, guys that just aren't masculine, guys that are very feminine. So what ends up happening is she starts to lose trust and respect for men in general, right? And then if she didn't have a father, it's even worse.
Yeah.
So it's always better to deal with a girl that doesn't have a lot of preconceived or bad experiences with men. And younger women, unfortunately, tend to have that. As much as these 30-year-old spinsters want to talk shit, ooh, well, you're just a predator. No, younger women tend to have less bad habits. Sorry, it is what it is. And I use the analogy all the time where feminists get mad at me for using this analogy, but I look at women as glass, right? Trauma destroys them. If you take a glass, right, and you drop it on the floor and it shatters into pieces, you can get the best, glassmith, whatever the fuck they're called, to fix it, right? They fix it up together the best they can or whatever, but when you pour water in it, it's always going to leak, right? It's never going to be able to hold on to the water as it would before being smashed. And that's kind of how women are. So like there's this girl right now going trending. She had sex with 100 dudes in a day, right? For her OnlyFans. It's
crazy.
She's cooked.
Miss Phillips.
She will never be able to properly bond with or be with a man ever. That's an example of not just smashing the glass, but like shattering it multiple times over. So even if she went to therapy, spoke to a couple psychiatrists, maybe even found God, she's always going to have those experiences and she'll never be able to actually be in a long-term relationship with a guy versus a woman that didn't experience all that crap now and still young. She could potentially get in a relationship and be able to, have something long-term happen. But with women, they're, what's the word? They're very, sensitive, and then you have to preserve their value, right? Like I always say, men have to create their value, women have to preserve their value. If they destroy their value, it's very difficult for them to be in a long-term relationship with a guy. So, and that just tends to be with them being younger, right?
One thing I'll say is, to go back from the Christian perspective, it's like, obviously I believe that, you had mentioned finding God. Like, I believe that God can heal any situation.
Of course. Yeah.
At the same time, one thing I always tell people too is like, we believe Jesus will forgive. We believe you can be healed, but there are still consequences for sin.
Yes.
So it doesn't change the fact of things you've done. You're still going to have to pay the consequences of sin. So if you get divorced, the consequences are for however long that divorce, child support, all those things, like you still have consequences for what happened, even if you are forgiven. And so I think a lot of people just don't kind of like think about that, which is what you guys are really talking about a lot with, like, what are the consequences if things don't work out?
I mean, there's a trend going around where girls are like actively going to religion as an escape from their whole past.
Well, these OnlyFans girls are doing it, dude. It's like the new grift.
And like you said earlier,
It's the new grift.
It is, man.
I actually get forgiven because God will forgive you, Jesus Christ will forgive you, but your actions from the past will come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
Now, more often than not, they'll go to these podcasts and these preachers and pastors and say, hey, listen, I'm coming to you on a clean slate. I've been forgiven. I'm a new person. However, we know what they're really doing. They're trying to save face and hide behind the curtain of religion. I think it's disgusting because they're using it as a scapegoat and not as a reality check. And like you said before, you can still get saved, but the action itself will still haunt you no matter what you do. So
yeah, and it's going to be harder to find a guy, right?
Yeah.
If there's a guy out there that's religious and has his life together, is he really going to want to go ahead and commit to a girl that had a bukkake on video and then now she wants to sit there and say, I found God? More than likely not. He's going to go for the girl, like I said before. You're going to want, if you have the ability to buy a brand new piece of glass, right, a glass cup, you're going to buy the brand new glass. You're not going to take the one that was salvaged. So that's just kind of what it comes down to. And guys need to kind of wake up to this.
So to switch gears a little bit, I mean, obviously, the dating scene is really interesting. There's a lot going on.
Very.
it's cooked.
Yeah, it's cooked, bro. To be honest,
It's cooked.
It's cooked.
It's getting harder and harder.
You got out at a good time.
I avoided the trends.
Yes.
The trend is trending down. Would you? Well, I guess you guys don't believe in marriage this way, but would you suggest my advice? And obviously, I do believe in marriage, but it's like, especially for Christians, just get married early. I think you avoid a lot of these problems getting married early, and it may not work out, but let's just say, what is the alternative? You wait way down the road, and now you end up with like just a different set of problems of waiting.
I think so. Okay. So this is another thing that I get, people hate that I say this all the time, but I think for men, right? Now, obviously in your situation it worked out great,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the ideal.
Yeah.
I wish guys could get married young like you did. But I would say for most guys, unfortunately, right? Like I always say, you need to have these 5 things in place. 35 years old, making $100,000, if not more a year, 6 months to 1 year of savings, in the gym. Here's the thing with a lot of modern women, right? Fortunately for you, right, with your wife, you don't have to worry about this. But for the regular guys out there, the way a lot of women play the game is they say, okay, I'm going to use sex against you as a weapon for compliance. I need you to follow what I do, and I'm going to dangle the carrot of sex against you so that you do what I do. And what ends up happening a lot of times is the women inadvertently take the frame in the relationship.
Right.
Unbeknownst to the guy thinks, oh yeah, I'm the man, whatever. But what he doesn't realize is she's dangling this carrot. Now you're doing everything that she wants you to do. Next thing you know, you're doing chores, you're cleaning up the house, whatever, just to get some sex. And she's basically taking the authority from you, right? And if you don't know better as a guy that she's leveraging her sex against you for compliance and that she's stolen the frame from you, you won't know that unless you've dealt with women before, right? And a lot of guys that are early on or virgins or have, because the male sex drive is one of the most powerful things in the world. It's the reason why we see all these like great things that we have. Like men wanted to procreate and be able to have children, so they go out and create, right? Like, oh my God, I got a mate, so let me go ahead and add value to society, and they do so, right, to some degree. So, with that said, a lot of times girls will use that will against you, right? And then if you don't know better, you get finessed. So, and then we don't have the guardrails I mentioned before of shame, religion, the 2-parent households, all the institutions that we had in place before to ensure hypergamy would be in control are gone.
Yeah.
So when you add in all these different circumstances into what's going on, guys need to really be aware of how modern women move, right? Because not every woman is religious. So if you have these things in place, it'll at least put you in a position where, number one, you're attractive to a majority of women. Number two, you can dictate your terms to some degree so that you have frame because you make a good amount of money, you have a good amount of savings. And then most importantly, you're not a slave to sex. You've dealt with it before, so girls can't leverage it against you for compliance. You have the ability to have an abundance mindset and be like, fuck off like that. We're not doing that. And crazy enough, right? That makes you more attractive. When you could look a girl dead in the eye and be like, fuck off. No, we're not doing that. She's going to be even more attracted to you because now she knows she doesn't have power with you. And then bam, next thing you know, she's attracted to you because you've displayed right there, I'm the leader and you can't do anything to take this leadership from me. Then she's like, damn, okay, I can submit to this guy because he's not going to go ahead and fall to his whims.
Yeah.
To this point, let's go back in time. Think about this. Adam and Eve, right?
Yeah.
The first of God's creation. We're alone in the garden. Eve was deceived by the snake and said, Adam, try this fruit. He had experience to say, you know what? No, Eve, get out of the garden. So I think for most men, they need to have experience with women at least to be able to say no and say, you know what? You can't control me. I control myself with God's help.
Yeah. Now with that said, right? Let's say you meet a girl. She had a strong father. Mm-hmm. She's a God-fearing woman. Throughout her life, her parents told her, if you be a whore, you're going to be shunned from this house.
Yeah.
And they did the work for you. Well, that's different, right? You meet her and she already kind of understands. You're the leader, you're the man, whatever. But unfortunately, like a lot of guys are not going to have that privilege to be able to meet a girl that had a good father in the house, that's God-fearing, whatever. So you almost have to kind of come in and be the arbiter of authority because a lot of these women don't have fathers and they don't have a natural respect for masculinity. This is another thing that's very scary. I want men to understand. Most women in America, in the West, don't respect most men. And I want to say that one more time for guys so they really wake up. Most women in America don't respect most men.
Yeah.
So, and there's a reason for that, right? They make their own money. They have their own education. A lot of guys are losers, lethargic, fat, dorks, whacking off to porn.
Yes.
They're more masculine. So it's understandable why. But men need to understand that you're kind of operating at a deficit most of the time when you meet a woman. So the things that were there before aren't there. So this is why I say guys need to have this thing in place. Now, again, I want to be very clear about this. If you could find a girl early on where you guys are both religious and a lot of this work is done for you, like in your situation, awesome, get married, fucking great. But unfortunately, I just know for most men that's not going to be real. They won't be able to find that, unfortunately, in today's society at least.
So let's talk a little bit about geopolitics because you guys been talking about that, right? Well, first let's talk about Trump.
Sure.
What do you guys think?
I like Trump. Okay. I voted for him. We told our audience, you need to get out there and vote. We can't have a female president. That's going to bring a lot of problems.
Yeah.
You know,
was that the main reason, or you just like Trump?
That's I like Trump.
Point.
Okay, but you would have picked him over Biden too.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but we're considered a lot of people consider us far right. So I mean, I would go even further. Look, I voted for Trump. There's some things that I wish he was a little bit stronger on, but I get it that he had to move a little bit more to the center to be able to get some of the votes. But I do like Trump. I've always liked him. There's some things I disagree with, namely Operation Warp Speed and his, ridiculous support of Israel. But other than that, I like a lot of his stuff. I want him to be a little bit stronger on immigration as well. But, I think for him to get elected, he had to kind of be a little bit more in the center with it because immigration is a very divisive topic.
Yeah.
I think nobody's perfect, but out of all the odds we had and choices, Trump was the best pick. What I will say is that his actual presidency and what he's been through is amazing. He's been called, a rapist. He's been called criminal. All these things, and he'll be able to come back and become president again, which I think is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, for those that are unaware, he was indicted in 4 different jurisdictions.
Yeah.
Twice federally. One in the District of Washington for the election stuff with the January 6th stuff, trying to say that he defrauded the government. Then in Florida for the document fraud case.
Yep.
And then in New York for the falsifying business documents. Then in Atlanta for a RICO for basically similar charges of what a DC he was getting hit with January 6th and subverting the election. And I was actually concerned because, I had done these cases before. And I think the strongest case they had against him, the government, was the document fraud case. Excuse me, not document fraud. The classified documents case. Because what a lot of people don't realize is if you have certain documents in your possession, they could just get you off of that. And people are like, well, you could declassify the documents. He's the president of the United States. Well, what they don't get is the classification doesn't matter on certain documents. If it's national defense information, NDI, it automatically, you can't have it, right? So what ended up happening was the FBI got a search warrant went in, found the documents, and him just having them there is a problem. They're not in a skiff or whatever, or they're not properly being held. So that case was actually, I think, the strongest case the government had against them. I'm glad it ended up getting dismissed on a technicality, basically that Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, didn't have the authority to prosecute it. So that's how I got thrown out by one of the district judges down there in Florida. But that was the one that worried me the most. And then they ended up dismissing the D.C. one, the New York one. The judge adjourned it, which, another funny story. He was 100% going to go to jail. The judge, Merchan, was planning to send him to Rikers. And the reason why I know this, there was reporting from Alex Jones and Laura Loomer and a bunch of other people that they were clearing space at Rikers Island for him to go to jail because he was supposed to be sentenced. But, and I got to give credit to Laura on this one, Laura Loomer. She broke a story the week that he was supposed to be sentenced that Judge Merchan's daughter was receiving money and had also worked for under the Kamala Harris administration. And obviously that's a gross conflict of interest. So that put the judge in a bad spot. So he had to push the sentencing back. That sentencing getting pushed back gave Trump the time needed to campaign and eventually win the presidency. And then now the case has basically been adjourned. Yeah. But they were definitely trying to send him to Rikers for being convicted. I think he went to trial. He lost 34 convictions for the falsifying business records, which, you know, Alvin Bragg, the district attorney out there in New York, had campaign. We're gonna go after Trump, whatever. It was a fucking witch hunt. But I'm glad that, you know, he ended up becoming president, whatever. But they wanted him, man. It was absolutely lawfare to the highest level. And luckily, she was able to buy him some time with breaking that story. Judge almost had to recuse himself, so he had to obviously put out that fire before he could do the sentencing. Yep. There was a bunch of law enforcement officers in New York that were planning to strike because they knew that this was going to probably come down. They were going to not come into work that day, that he was going to be sent to Rikers. But, like, then you think to yourself, how the fuck would the Secret Service be able to protect him in jail? Like, that's like, you know, and I think that's another reason, too, why Hunter Biden got pardoned was because, like, yeah, obviously he's a criminal, and he ended up getting pardoned by his father, which was, you know, looks crazy. But people forget that he's the immediate family member of a sitting president. How would Secret Service effectively protect them in jail? Like, yeah. So, bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's funny with the Hunter Biden thing. It's like, I get why people are like jumping on it, but even for me, I'm just like, I think like 100% of us would pardon our own son.
Yeah,
it's like
from the human element.
Yeah, what do you expect to happen?
I think,
especially once you already lost.
Yeah,
it's like, well,
that's your last.
I'm scorching the earth. I'm pardoning everyone.
And you got guys like, you know, Kash Patel, who was the FBI director, he was nominated. You got guys like him that are saying like, hey, we're gonna, you know, there's gonna be hell to pay, etc. So you're like, damn, well, when they come in, they're gonna indict everybody. So, you know, I do think that Trump had talked about potentially pardoning Hunter, but the thing is this: presidents typically pardon at the end of their term.
Yeah.
So Hunter would have had to probably do some years in jail before Trump pardoned him on his way out.
Yeah.
So I think that's what also pressured Biden to say, you know what, I'm going to get my son out of this situation. And it's funny, not only did he pardon him, he kind of gave him immunity up until for like a decade past. I think to protect himself too with the whole Burisma thing. So
just anything else he might get caught up in.
What are your thoughts on Trump?
Oh, I love Trump. Yeah, I think he's great. I have my I might get you guys some. Do we have any more Make America Wealthy hats?
I think the red ones.
Okay. Do we made some Make America
merch,
Wealthy
man.
again hats?
Yeah. We rock with Trump too. You know, we covered the campaign. We told people got to get out there and vote. We were real big on telling. I mean, because Kamala was just such a terrible. It's amazing to me that people even like were trying to say like, yeah, we need to put her in office. The woman can't speak. You know what I mean? She was.
She's a puppet.
She's a puppet. You know, she couldn't really. And the thing is, she didn't give an interview on an adversarial news station for months.
You guys obviously have a massive podcast. I mean, how cool was it to see just how big podcasting played into the election?
Oh, huge.
Immense. Actually, shout out to Trump's son, Barron Trump. He's the one that pushed Trump to go to these podcasts and push
he pushed
the agenda.
him too? He's like, it's going to make a difference.
Because without him, I don't think Trump would have did some of these interviews. But Joe Rogan was a huge influence on the culture as well.
Oh, yeah. And then Elon going right after. It was like, that's it.
Sorry,
So
you got a point?
Yeah. What I was going to say was I talked about this on Twitter. So you look at Kamala Harris, right? She got all the A-list celebrities, traditional celebrities to endorse her. Eminem, Beyonce.
The biggest waste of money ever.
Yeah.
Meg Thee Stallion.
Glorilla. Quavo.
That video was crazy of Meg Thee Stallion, like
twerking at the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
That's
just,
disgusting,
I saw
bro.
like I don't see many memes, but that one was fun. It's like, dang, I can't believe she didn't win, like spending $10 million on this. It's just like,
But
what
you know,
the heck?
it's interesting because what okay, what this election kind of showed, multiple things, but the interesting thing was she got all the A-list celebrities to endorse her, right? And it's interesting because she got people from
Taylor Swift,
who was Bon Jovi, fucking, classic rock, all the way up to Taylor Swift. So she had multiple generations of A-list celebrities endorsing her, right? Actors, actresses, etc. All of Hollywood endorsed her. But then you look on the Trump side, he had influencers. He went on Theo Von. He did Aiden Ross. He did Rogan. He did a bunch of different podcasts.
All these guys.
Yeah. He went everywhere, right? And it went to show that the allure of traditional celebrities no longer has the same influence that people thought.
Yeah.
Right? Like, someone like an Eminem who is world renowned, we all know him, we all have heard, Clean Out My Closet, whatever. Like, that's cool. You like his music, but at the end of the day, you're not listening to them for hours at a time like a Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah, you don't know Eminem.
You don't know him. You don't. So, and people were shocked when they saw him endorse him, and that kind of spoke testament to like, wow, this is a guy that used to be controversial, most canceled guy. Now he's over here on the left endorsing someone like a Kamala Harris, who stands for cancel culture, by the way. So, versus Rogan, he's going to talk about polar bears or bears at some point, right? Because you've listened to hours of his content. So people identify way more with influencers and streamers than they do traditional A-list celebrities. So I think Trump going on these podcasts and having long-form content and discussions that isn't scripted or whatever was also huge for the American public to also hear his perspective, kind of humanize him a bit, because politicians typically are looked at as like bots and puppets and people don't trust them, which, understandably so. But with Kamala, she took the traditional Obama route of let me get celebrities to endorse me, right? Which would have worked in 2008. Yeah. But now in 2024, where people are able to do their own stuff and have their own platforms, I've noticed the influencer route is a way better route, and I think it helped way more with pulling voters over, because I know with us, we brought a lot of black voters over to Trump because we were saying, look, the Democrats don't give a shit about you guys, and we're really big on like telling people in the black community to like not have a victim mindset, right? Because a lot of them tend to, white supremacy. Shut the fuck up, dude. Like, it's like you're just a loser. Stop being fucking lazy. Get out there and work. Yeah. So obviously that pisses a lot of people off, but then also we wake a lot of people up too, and we're like, hey. Yeah, you got to get out there and
take
vote.
Accountability.
Take accountability. The Democrats are lying to you. They sit there and tell you, oh, yeah, we're going to give you all this benefit or whatever. But they don't, bro. They get into office. They don't give a fuck. So,
just to his point, we brought about something different this election. The advent of independent media.
Yeah.
Back in the day, of course, it was controlled. People were paying for people to lobby their posts and hide different things and call it fake news. But with the advent of Rumble, X, and other platforms, for the first time, we were able to see people speak their true mind and true thoughts, right? And at that point, you open up the door of, you know what? For the first time, we can say the reality of what things really are happening, right? What's happening right now, and the truth of it. And bring into that now Elon interviewing Trump on X. Nothing holding it back. No fake news. It's all real in your face. So now you can see in real time what's true and what's not. That, along with the podcast, Trump was bound to win.
The other thing, too, like people forget, is like, after January 6th, Trump got banned everywhere. They banned him on Facebook. They banned him on YouTube. He was banned everywhere. So, and I'll never forget, his first interview, he went on Nelk, and he talked about the election being stolen. Banned within 24 hours. YouTube took the video down. So, so people forget that like censorship is really fucking, it's a problem. So with platforms like X and Rumble, like all the biggest political podcasters, especially on the right, Steven Crowder, Bongino, a lot of these guys, they were able to run streams and like kind of like combat the narrative and put this information out to people, and that really helped with getting people educated on what's going on. Because let's be honest, a lot of the mainstream platforms, social media platforms, they're more left leaning, right? So having alternative media like X and like Rumble was instrumental in people being able to get information on both sides and kind of making a decision, because they don't have to rely on mainstream platforms or mainstream media. And that was huge, because if you, on election night, all the biggest streams, Bongino had like 500,000 people watching live on Rumble, and Crowder had like 500,000 people watching live on Rumble. The biggest on YouTube, I think, was PBD. He had like 270K on YouTube, but people on election night, Rumble dominated. That's because Rumble tends to be it's free speech, which a lot of times tends to be more conservative. And that, I think that was huge in helping get Trump in. X and Rumble were like huge, man, because if we had to rely on these other platforms, we know that they're going to censor.
Are you going to the inauguration?
No.
Are you going? No. Oh.
I mean, I haven't even thought about it, but I don't know. I'd be down. But I was, you know what's interesting? So I've supported Trump from lots of different perspectives of, you know, conservative values is what I'm voting for.
Of course.
And a lot of people, they're like, well, Trump's this, Trump's that. Like, he's not even a Christian, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, regardless of what he's done, first off, when you're 83 years old, let's see all your baggage.
Yeah.
And all the sin and everything else you've had in your life at 83.
Yep.
Right? Accomplishing a lot too. All the bridges you're going to burn, all the failures you're going to have, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're lucky enough to make it that far, your history is going to be checkered with a lot of things. Myself
Especially when it's been in the limelight.
Exactly. So I'm like, forget all that. All right. But two, it's just like I'm voting for the outcomes I want, not necessarily the man. It's like, hey, I know if this guy gets elected, all of these outcomes are far more likely to happen, period.
Yeah.
Controversial take. That's high IQ shit. I say this all the time. I don't care if the guy is a racist or if he might not be the best person. What are his policies?
Yeah.
What is the outcome? Is he going to be the best leader? I don't care about his personal life. The guy, like, we're going to talk about policy and what is he going to do for the nation. What I've realized is, because we've done this on a podcast now, so I have a little bit of a body work. I asked the girls, who are you voting for? And why did you vote? 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to vote for Kamala. Why are you voting for Kamala? Because Trump is a racist, because Trump doesn't want abortions, whatever. And like, they're misinformed about a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And it's all like personal stuff. And I'm like, okay, they don't even really know or care about the policies. They care more about, you know, what they heard in the media. So they're more susceptible to the mainstream lies, right? And the other thing too, right? So, and if we had to rely on the female vote, by the way, we would have had Kamala in office. They did like a little thing, and they showed the country. It was all blue if we had to rely on the female vote. So
They wanted a woman president.
We would have had Kamala in. And a bunch of girls said that too. Oh, yeah, I voted for Kamala because I want a female president. What the fuck does that have to do with anything, you idiot? Like, we're all worried about inflation and everything else. The number one reason I actually voted was because of foreign affairs.
Yeah,
we got a conflict going on in Israel. We got a conflict going on in Ukraine. Israel's going wild in the Middle East. We could potentially end up with World War III. And, you know, we need a strong leader in place to ensure that we don't end up in another foreign conflict. And people say, well, those wars don't affect me. I don't care, Myron. Actually, it does, stupid, because people forget that the price of food started to escalate after Russia invaded Ukraine. Why? Because Ukraine is responsible for making a ridiculous amount of bread all over Europe. If you go ahead and you destroy the food industry there, guess what? We're going to feel the reverberations of that here in the United States. So people don't understand that foreign affairs and foreign conflicts especially absolutely dictate your quality of life here in the United States. So if we want to talk about the Middle East and what Israel's doing over there, well, guess what? If the price of gas goes up because the Middle East produces a bunch of oil, well, your quality of life is going to go down here in America. So a lot of Americans don't have they're a little short-sighted thinking like, oh yeah, inflation, my life sucks because XYZ, but they don't realize that the reason why your life sucks is because of a lot of things that are external, because we live in a globalized world now. So a big reason why I voted was, look, Trump is going to keep us out of war. Being in war is bad. It's not good for business. We got to get these neocons and war hawks the fuck out of here, which Kamala, by the way, she was bragging, oh yeah, I have all these Republicans that support me. They don't even support Trump. You go and look at those Republicans. Who were they? The same architects of the Iraq war in 2003. The same neocons that brought us to war over there, that brought us no fucking benefit whatsoever. So that's another. That was the main reason I voted for Trump. I supported him anyway because obviously I always tend to lean right. But foreign affairs was absolutely at the top of my list because that's the one thing that you can't control, right? You can always make more money, stave off inflation, deal with it to some degree, right? But you can't control if we go to a war and the consequence of that. And then if we end up in nuclear warfare, we're all dead anyway.
We're all screwed.
That's really like the most important thing in my opinion, because you can't. That's the only thing that's truly out of your control, and that's the world. That's the president that handles that.
Yeah, it's funny because when I started supporting Trump like publicly, people would be like, oh well, of course, because you just want to make money and blah blah blah. I'm like, for sure, the economy's definitely going to be better with him. Everyone knows that. Okay, you'd be stupid to think it's not. But like that, I'm going to make money regardless. So like, it's still regardless of that. Like, I know he's going to get these conservative policies passed that I want. But the thing that I never thought about, and it actually made me start posting way more about it and like kind of like doing what you guys did and like, guys, like, no, we seriously need to vote. And for me, it was the Christians who really didn't like Trump's, the emotional side of like, he did this and that. How can a Christian? I'm like,
he's a bad person.
Yeah. And so it's like getting those people to realize this is bigger than your emotions.
Yeah.
But the thing that made me really start pushing was when Elon went on Rogan. And I had never even thought about this, but Elon starts talking about immigration. And he's like, well, yeah, you know what they're doing, right? They're going to all the swing states. They're bringing in all these illegal immigrants into swing states and letting them vote with no ID, nothing. And I was like, there's no way that's real. And I start looking at it, and it's like, literally all these swing states that you don't need an ID to vote. I'm like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. How would you not need an ID to vote? And it's like, well, it's discriminatory. And I'm like, wait a minute. So, because he's basically like, there will be no more democracy. Like, if you just get enough people to illegally vote, all the swing states decide everything regardless.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I never even considered that.
So,
Real estate investors, I found a brand new way to create cash flow that's better than anything else I've ever done. It's better than rental properties, Airbnb, my flipping business, multifamily. It's the best thing we've done yet. It is building an automated wholesale business. Now you might be saying, Ryan, how do you build an automated wholesale business? Well, what if you had the same exact leads that I get every single month? What if you had a sales script that was so easy to close deals over the phone that you could do it all across the country? And what if you could sell your deals directly on the MLS without a real estate license and without having to actually own the property and getting top dollar? Well, we do that with this new method. And I made an 11-minute video where I go over how it all works, how you can start doing it today. So if you want to go see that video, go to wealthyinvestor.com, go click the case study and see what I'm talking about.
I could talk about immigration. So just so, because your audience might not be familiar with me, I was a special agent of Homeland Security Investigations for almost 10 years. It was 7 years as an agent, 3 years as an intern, right? But I spent 4 to 5 of those years on the southwest border. So immigration is like my wheelhouse, right? We could talk INA, Title 8 all day. I think the thing that your audience needs to take away from this the most is that typically every time there's a Democrat in office, there's always a border crisis of illegal aliens coming in, et cetera. And the reason for that is because immigration is a politically dirty thing. Because you're damned if you do it, you're damned if you don't. And the Democrats campaign a lot of the times on race, disparity, the elites are holding you back, we got to fight for the middle class, and immigrants tend to be in that class, right? So that's number one, just setting the stage of kind of how we even end up with this issue with immigration, right? So it happened under Obama. I was on the border under Obama. There was a border crisis back in 2014. It's happening again under Biden. I'm not surprised. So now that we understand that, then you have sanctuary cities all across the United States, which is sanctuary city like a San Francisco, New York City, et cetera, which now they're starting to revoke that. Basically, if an illegal alien is arrested in one of these cities, right? ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, which there's two components. I was with Homeland Security Investigations, the Special Agent side. Then there's the other side, which is the deportation side, Enforcement Removal Operations, ERO is what they're called. They would put something called a detainer on this individual, the illegal alien, because they get a manifest of everyone that's arrested by the state and locals. Now, state and locals have zero immigration authority. That's a federal title, it's Title 8. So a lot of these cities in a sanctuary place, ICE will put a detainer because they see that they got arrested and they don't have paperwork. And they'll be like, hey, hold this prisoner for us. We're going to come get him once he gets out. A lot of these sanctuary cities won't do that. They won't honor it. When it's time for the guy to get released, they'll just let him go. They won't notify ICE. They won't hold the body. And they go out back into society like nothing happened. And this has been an issue in sanctuary cities for a very long time. I remember when I was in Austin, Texas one time, we had an arrest warrant for a guy that was smuggling illegal aliens. It's a federal warrant. It's a felony. It's a crime. And we're like, hey, Austin PD, we need you guys to back us up. We're going to go hit this house. No, we can't help you. Why not? It's immigration related. It's a federal warrant. What do you mean you can't help? Oh, well, whatever. The mayor doesn't want us doing anything. And this was back in this was even under this was like 2015 maybe. Well, either way, the point is that this is a serious problem in a lot of the major cities, which, this is why Trump, he said, I'm going to eliminate sanctuary cities when I come into office because it's very difficult to get immigration done in a lot of these cities. And the other thing I was going to say was now we talked about the sanctuary cities. That's the reason why they come. Now let's talk about the actual border. So when a legal alien is encountered in the United States, they're processed in a certain way. Now, under Trump, they were processed in a way called an expedited removal, which would mean you get caught. Within 2 weeks, we're deporting you back. And if you come back again, you're going to get hit with something called 1326, which is a felony, illegal re-entry, because you've been formally deported once. Now you're coming back in, right? So they get an ER. Now, under the Biden administration, they're not getting sent back right away. A lot of these aliens are getting something called a notice to appear. And a notice to appear, to put things in perspective, is extremely difficult to get. When I was an agent on the job, let's say someone comes across the border and has information, right, on a cartel, can be an informant. I would ask Border Patrol, can you guys give him an NTA? This guy's a great informant. They would tell me, no, we're not going to do that. Because obviously it's a great deal of liability. That person coming to the United States, they can do whatever they want. You're basically signing off on an illegal alien coming into the country. They say, no, we're not doing it. You do it your fucking self. But now they're giving out these NTAs like fucking candy. So I wasn't able to get an NTA for someone who was giving me real-time information on a huge transnational criminal organization. But now they're giving out these NTAs to fucking anybody. So that's where we are now, where these guys are coming into the country. They're getting these NTAs. Their CBP app where they're paying for them to fly to these fucking locations. And then the worst part is the immigration system is backed up. They might not see a judge for years because of how backed up it is. So not only do they not see a judge for years, they go out into the wind at that point. Illegal aliens are hard to track. So they come in, they get the NTA, the address that they say that they're going to be at, they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
And then bam, gone in the fucking wind. So it's way worse than that. There's more to it that I could talk about, but I don't want to for the sake of brevity here. But this is some of the issues that we had with immigration in the United States. Just some.
Why do you think that is? Is it the whole voting thing that Elon said?
That's a component. And then also Democrats campaign on disparity and inequality or whatever. So for them, it benefits them to have illegal immigrants in the country. And it benefits them to not necessarily be hard on immigration, because being hard on immigration is antithetical to Democrat talking points.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I've always said immigration's a catch-22 for a lot of politicians. Like, really only like Republicans are hard on immigration because it's in line with what they do. But with Democrats, it hurts them because you're supposed to be the champion for the underprivileged, and immigrants are considered the least privileged.
Yeah. I think it just becomes like, even just from a normal standpoint, it's like, so my dad was an immigrant. He came from the Philippines. He came the right way, did the right things, and got citizenship, right?
Same.
And it's like, yeah, lots of people do it the right way every day.
Yep.
And then, people do it illegally. And it's like, for me, it's like, if you do it illegally, I'm not going to treat you any different. Like, I've hired guys to do, house jobs and construction and other stuff. So it's like, it's fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to still treat them good. But they definitely can't vote.
Yeah.
and do all of these other things that citizens get the right to do. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's
a finesse, man.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it is with immigration. But yeah,
and if you commit a crime and you're an illegal, it's like, dude, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, and then if they commit it in certain places, Denver, whatever, notorious for not honoring detainers, like, they're able to really get away scot-free, man. So it's a serious problem.
Yeah.
But this always happens under Democrats, where we have a border crisis, guys coming in droves. This has always happened.
What's your guys' expectation that's going to happen now in the next 4 years? Like, with the Doge thing and everything else?
Yeah. The Department of what's it called? Government
Efficiency
or something like that. Doge.
Elon.
With Elon and Ramaswamy. Well, I'll be very blunt here. I'll be very painfully honest. They're never going to get rid of the FBI. It's never going to happen. The FBI is a historical agency. It's the premier law enforcement agency. And this is coming from a guy that worked for Homeland. I don't really love the FBI. We've had problems with them. But you're never going to be able to get rid of them because their mission is too important. What you'll have to do, though, is you'll have to get rid of the bureaucracy at the top, right? The FBI has a lot of people at the top that are involved in some bullshit. I saw Chris Wray, I think, just resigned today, if I'm not mistaken, the director. So, and then they talked about Kash Patel becoming the director of the FBI. I would have liked him as Attorney General, to be honest with you. I think he would have way more authority as Attorney General versus just being the FBI director. But, I did a whole post on it on Twitter if people really want to read it. But, yeah, I mean, we got a lot of work to do. But getting rid of the FBI, there's issues, but you got to deal with the management. The regular agents, they don't give a shit, man. They just want to do their jobs, put bad guys in jail, whatever it may be, protect the country. It's the guys at the top that are the issue. But disbanding certain agencies, I don't know if they'll be able to do that within 4 years, because the thing is, like, with people that work in the private sector, like a Ramaswamy versus coming into the government, right? And I can speak to this because I'm like an entrepreneur now, so I understand how the private sector works versus the government sector. The government sector has so many layers of bureaucracy and, mandates and laws in place where it makes it very difficult to get anything done. Like, a lot of people forget that Trump, his first term in, he couldn't really get much done, and it was because of the government bureaucracy, because there's so many people that stand in your way. That's why, like, people were talking about, Project 2025. The reason why Project 2025 was such a big thing was because Trump needed people by him that were loyal to him that would actually get stuff done, because when he came in the first time, he was surrounded by snakes where he couldn't get anything done for the first couple of years. So Project 2025 was actually a very valid, I like Project 2025, by the way, but it was a very valid response to the treachery and the snakes that he had. I mean, you look at someone like a fucking Mike Pence, right? Who, when push come to shove at the worst time, he wasn't there for him, right? So, yeah, you need people around you that know what they're doing. You need a leader. You need loyalists to really get stuff done in the government. And I don't know if they would be able to. They won't be able to disband the FBI. That's just not going to happen. There's too many mandates in place. But I think they can absolutely clean it up and get rid of the fucking bureaucracy at the top levels.
Yeah,
I think
get rid of a bunch of waste.
Trump has a list of people that have done him bad and are continuing to do him bad right now.
Yeah.
And he's going to clean house as much as possible with his current regime. However, speaking of lists, you know Drake, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Drake. He made a list of his top ops, his opposition recently. And 50 Cent posted it. Basically, he showed it on screen, the list of his haters on live. And you know who's on that list? Myron Gaines. I don't know how he did it, but he's on the list.
Dang.
That's
an
crazy,
honor.
bro.
Why does Drake not like you?
It's because I
Was
said
Kendrick one and Myron was two? Or what?
I think you were like, what, number 35, something like that?
Yeah, I was.
Wait, who makes a list of like all the people they?
I don't know. I don't know if it's legit or not. But I mean, 50 Cent put it up on
think
when
it
he
is.
when he did an interview. So I don't know if there might be some validity to it. But what I will say is that it's because I made a tweet and I said, I'm real active on Twitter, by the way, guys. Myron Gaines X. I talk about everything, politics, culture. But the main reason why is because I said I blame Drake. I think he's not the only, but I think he's a very big reason as to why we've had the masculinity crisis in the past 20 years. Because if you look at when Drake took off in 2007-ish, right?
Yeah.
He made it popular for men to be sensitive. He made it popular for men to be in their feelings. He made it popular for men to have feminine characteristics. And he's dominated hip hop for the better part of the past 20 years or so. So
A lot of rappers followed suit.
Yeah.
and all this weird stuff.
exactly. So I think that he's a big part of the issue why men behave more like women nowadays. And I made a whole tweet about it, and I referenced this. And then if you look at his pictures, he behaves like a girl a lot of times. When you hear him in his interviews, he's very effeminate. So I think he saw that and he didn't like it because it got millions of views on X. So
One tweet.
yeah,
You've made the list.
yeah, I made the list probably, man. So it is what it is. Like, but here's the thing though, it's funny because I give him his credit. Like I went on a rant the other day and I said that at the end of the day, when this is all said and done and we're all dead and there's gravestones, Drake is going to be a top 10 musician with the Elvis Presleys and the Michael Jackson, etc. And the reason why is because he was able to effectively dominate a genre of music for a very long time, and he was like the first rapper to be able to sing and rap at the same time. Kendrick Lamar, I don't even think is going to be a top 10 rapper of all time, right? Versus Drake, I think is going to be a top 10 musician. So though I dislike how he affected the culture and made men more feminine, I'm also have the wherewithal to understand that his impact in music is huge, consequential, and he's going to be a top artist. And when people sit there and compare Drake to Kendrick Lamar, I say it's not even close because Kendrick is going to be known as a rapper.
Yeah.
Drake is a musician, a top musician.
Yeah.
It's not the same. They're not even on the same echelon.
Yeah,
like,
he's
and
like
you
Taylor
could tell
Swift.
because Kendrick is blown up. Why? Because he's talking about Drake. That in itself proves
proves
that
the
Drake
point.
is the fucking guy.
Listen,
Yeah.
Drake is a GOAT. He's been a GOAT
Yeah,
forever.
this guy loves him.
I'm a Drake fan. He comes to Miami, shows love to everybody. But the thing with Drake is that like people look at him as like this serial rapper that spreads a certain message. You know what Drake did? He became relatable. People were wanting a rapper that was relatable. Okay, I don't shoot people, hunk people, but
Yeah.
I get depressed. Girls dog
I
me
get
out.
sad.
Like strippers don't give me love. Like he made it relatable.
I deal with that.
And I can relate to that because, listen, as a guy, no one talks about our issues. They're like, you know what? Be a man, fix it up, change it. He's like, you know what? I'm
gonna
doing the
sing
same
and cry
bullshit.
about it.
Yeah.
So, listen, I get you don't like the relatability, but I understand it. I like
Yeah.
Drake.
So my thing is, I'm highly critical of how he's affected the culture, right, for men and made them weak.
Yeah.
But I am also
the hustle.
yeah, but I'm also able to acknowledge the fact that he's a talented musician. He's going to go down in history, and him and Kendrick aren't even on the same level. When people tell me, "Oh, Kendrick better," all right, bro, he could rap better. Who gives a fuck? People are going to remember Drake.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing Drake music 50 years from now. They're not going to be playing Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. I had these guys cheat codes on their DJs, and they were talking about how, Drake and Kendrick got beef, and Drake actually just sued I think it was Universal.
He did.
Yeah.
UMG.
who are Universal's his label and over like boosting Kendrick's numbers.
Apparently they botted the stuff
to make him bigger than Drake.
which I will say, if that's true, he probably has a case, man. I don't know if it's true. Then he might have a case because I'm not gonna lie, like you couldn't escape that not like us.
Not
crap.
like us.
And the thing is, it makes a lot of salacious claims.
Hold on.
Right.
I'm close to him. I guess we're on this because this is my wheelhouse here. So listen, here's the problem, right?
You're close to who are you close to?
I can't say certain names, but just let's just know I know people in the industry.
All right.
So here's the problem, right? He didn't sue. He just made he made a claim to show proof of what you're doing behind the scenes. So it's not really a lawsuit. It's more of like
Was it a lawsuit?
No, it's more of like hey, show me what you're doing, so then I can sue your ass properly. So he made like
a demand letter?
Yeah, he made like a light jab. He didn't really sue them.
Yeah, not yet.
His problem, yeah, not yet. It's like I'm warning you, cease and desist. If not, I'm gonna sue your ass. So here's the thing, right?
Oh.
Drake actually is fighting the establishment. Now we're seeing Michael Jackson, certain artists. When they fight the establishment, what happens? They get destroyed. So I think on some level he's ready to fight that battle, but his legacy is gonna be impacted heavily. And I think in itself, him doing this, people say, oh, he's mad at Kendrick, he's doing his thing. No, it's against the company. Because imagine, your company that you work for that has been working with you for years, suddenly turned on you because you want to leave and get out of the game. So imagine this, right? Drake's been with UMG for how long? Maybe like 10 plus years, whatever. And he is almost paid off his contract. For example, whenever you sign a deal, there's a certain amount of money you got to make, and then you're free to go as an independent artist and do your thing.
Yep.
So he's close to his contract being ended, his term. So imagine this, your key player is supposed to leave your ass and go do his own thing. You don't want that.
Yeah.
So UMG's like, you know what? Fuck that. We're going to mess up your career and keep you here with us. So enter Kendrick Lamar. Because they tried with, what's his name? Adonis, the guy that spoke with his son. Pusha T. I forgot his lame ass name. Anyhow, so they tried with him first. Didn't work.
Pusha T, with Adonis. Yeah,
they tried with him.
T.
Didn't work. Drake came back, bodied him, sent him on his way. But with Kendrick now, I will admit.
Well, Pusha T killed him with the rap in the battle. But of course, who remembers Pusha T? That's what I'm trying to say. Kendrick is going to be the next Pusha T.
I forgot.
He basically exposed his son. The story of Adonis. I remember this when he came out with this.
Well,
everyone said that Pusha T won the battle.
Hold on.
Pusha T part of a group? Wasn't he part of a duo?
Yeah, the
Yes.
Clips.
The Clips. Yeah.
Hold on.
Clips, yep.
Drake could have bought him, but he didn't want to put out there what he had on him. Trust me, Drake has the info that would have ended Pusha T's whole life.
Why didn't he put it out then, bro?
Because it's not. He was told not to by certain people, and to be real, he did a smart choice because that would have been too much.
What was it?
I can't say because let's just say it was not good for everybody to hear. Anyhow, nonetheless, though, now enter Kendrick. Kendrick's come into space.
Diddy type shit? Can you at least confirm that?
I don't know that part.
Okay.
Who knows?
I'm saying Diddy type shit.
Yeah. But I don't know that part. Okay. What I do know is that it could end his career. Nonetheless, though, enter Kendrick Lamar. Comes into the scene, and of course, here's a perfect example. He has a part where he's respected in the industry enough where black people support him. He's fighting the black cause. He's the main guy that backs the California culture, right?
Yeah.
And enter him with the hate for Drake. Now, how do you boost somebody up so far to get on Drake's level? You really can't. But you can attack his character and his true being, which is you call somebody a pedo. You're basically saying that they're a fucking scumbag and they need to be put away. Now, that allegation, he played it up. He hinted at a bunch of songs before. He made a big thing, and then here enters they don't like us. So you put a picture of his house with dots on it, like a friggin' Google Maps picture on your album. You're showing his house as a sex offender. That's fucked up. Anyhow, long story short though, they made him who he is today, and they put him as like a top artist for that one song. And mind you, that song was destroying him because think about it. You call him a pedo to thousands of people dancing to it, grandmothers, kids, people of all colors and races. It's like you made the whole world call him a pedo. No, that to me is trying to destroy someone's character all in all. But then again, he wants to leave the company and go and be independent.
Yeah.
So I think this whole thing was a plan by the label to like kind of humble him and say, you know what, you're not going nowhere, you're under us. And at the same time, big up Kendrick to make him look like that guy, but he's not. To be honest with you, he's not. So
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were, you obviously have some background to kind of like what's going on. But yeah, when I was talking about it with cheat codes, they were you know, we were talking about independent artists and everything else, and you know, they're talking about Drake. I mean, Drake's like the biggest in the game, right? And
The boy.
yeah, and it's like, you know, Drake obviously could go make money independent, but does he want to deal with all that? You know, the lifestyle, the fame, the machine pushing him, and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah,
You know what's sad though about this whole industry? We're seeing for what it really is.
Yeah.
Because it's not as rainbow and sparkly as I think it is. It's more like, well, it is kind of rainbow, but it's more like you're seeing for the first time the curtains are being uncovered, because behind the industry of music there's a lot of depravity, a lot of
We see what's going on with the Diddy situation.
Diddy stuff. Like that's
you see the
actually
Jay-Z thing.
that's a whole another angle.
Yeah.
Is it true? Who really knows? But
Well, I'll tell you this. This is the best thing that could have happened to Diddy, and I'll tell you why.
there you go.
So it was actually our HSI New York, because I worked at HSI Miami field office. The HSI New York office did this case on Diddy, right? They also did R. Kelly too, which is very similar, which for those that are unaware, basically, you know, human trafficking charges from before. They did it under RICO so they can bring in these charges from before because statute of limitations. So what they did was they charged under RICO. So they can bring in all these encompassing crimes because they're saying, hey, it's a pattern of continuing activity. So Diddy's arrested. He's been locked up for a bit. Can't get bond, right? And he put up his house, $50 million in Miami Beach, etc. They won't let him get bond, right? Because they're saying that he's a danger to the community because he's intimidating witnesses or he might try to change things. So this thing comes out with Jay-Z that he assaulted this girl that was 13 years old and Diddy was there. If this is true, and Jay-Z actually did this, right? And by the way, I do like Jay-Z. If this is true, and Diddy, let's say, has this on camera, we know that, you know, they allege in a lot of the paperwork that he has these things, these freak-offs on tape, and he records a lot of this stuff. If it's true, Diddy's legal team needs to go to the prosecutors and say, yo, we have this on footage. We want to testify.
We'll talk.
And that will absolutely give Diddy a significant amount of time off. And people say, well, why? Well, because Jay-Z's a notable name. I would argue Jay-Z's higher on the totem pole than Diddy, right? Because he's tied in with Beyonce and everything else like that.
Yeah.
It's probably worth more if you combine their net worth.
Yep.
And then the other thing too is that he would have to do it under something called a 5K proffer, which what that is you basically come in. They also call it queen for a day or king for a day, which is you come in, you sit down with the case agents, and you sit down with the prosecutor, the federal prosecutor, AUSA, and you're able to give all the information. And even give information that's incriminating, but you don't get prosecuted for it.
Yeah.
Right? As long as you tell the truth.
Like, this is what I got. What can we do with this?
Yes. And then if it leads to arrests, or significant investigative activities, what they use, substantial assistance to the government, I think is the term they use, you get some significant time off. So if Diddy actually has any proof of this, whether it's he has video, he has witnesses that were there as well that could corroborate this, he can testify, etc. I mean, you're going to need more than just him because obviously anyone would say, oh, yeah, I saw it. Yeah, so give me time off.
Yeah.
No, they're going to need more corroborating and physical evidence. If he can do that, there's a potential that he can get some time off.
Yeah.
Here's the issue. Look at the court documents. Look at the accusations. The timing of this actual event isn't even real. The VMAs ended up maybe like between 11 p.m., 11:30. They're saying he was there at 10 p.m. So the timing of his
Eastern Standard Time,
yes.
was this in California?
No, this is when the VMAs were going on.
Yeah,
So,
but the VMAs were, remember, where did they hold it? They move it every year.
well, back then I think it was in was it California? Wherever it was, the timing is off completely. So for him to be in that location at that time would have been off.
Okay.
Also, look who's actually doing this suit. This crooked lawyer is doing this for years.
The Bugsby
other
guy,
people.
yeah.
Bugsby.
Yeah,
So
Busby, whatever his name is.
the lawyer's crooked as fuck, one. And two, to be real, he even put in a statement, or he said basically he's going to hit him up on the side and say, listen, pay me this amount of money. I won't name you in this actual lawsuit.
Yeah, blackmail.
Blackmail. So from the very
The
beginning,
lawyer's blackmailing Jay-Z.
yes, from the very beginning. Now, they didn't list the name of the person that was a target of this blackmail, but come to find out it was Jay-Z. So imagine this. He's like, you know what? Forget that. Push it out there. I'll defend myself in a court of law. But then again, to me, it's like this whole thing isn't real because he was even there at the time of the crime.
Yeah, I'll be honest with y'all. I do think it's probably bullshit. But like in my head, I was looking at it like for Diddy, if this is true, this is how he can kind of get himself in a better situation. If it's true, but he would need a lot of proof. He would need
But he's going to have
video,
so much,
something.
so much stuff on lots of people.
Yeah, I mean,
But hold on, who's to say that didn't this happen a different day? like you never know.
we don't know.
It could have been a different woman,
don't
different
know.
day.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying in general, like he's gonna do that regardless.
More than likely, yeah. I mean, I'm assuming he lawyered up. He said, "I'm not talking to y'all," so that's why they're kind of like doing this standoff, and he's just been locked up all this time. Because anyone like he has common sense. As soon as they picked him up and they arrested him, he was like, "Yeah, I'm not talking to y'all," because he knew he was going to get indicted. He knew he was going to get arrested. His lawyers probably advised him when they just come and pick you up, which they got him at the hotel. You know, he's like, "All right, guys, I'm not going to say nothing." So,
But I think we're seeing for the first time the glamorous music industry that everyone comes to love and know.
Yeah, we'll
is not
see.
what it seems to be. It's more of a
we don't know anymore, man. It's just crazy, bro.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens with
more-
the thing. So basically, the timeline is fucked up with the VMA thing.
it's fucked up, bro.
Okay.
And
Not to say it couldn't have happened, but
it could maybe.
But who knows?
The cabal of people at the top of this industry are so corrupt, and then the ones that have the power are also corrupt. And we're like, oh my god, I want to be a rapper, I want to be a celebrity. You really don't, because what you have to do to become that person
Yeah.
is tough.
Demonic.
Yeah.
yeah,
so-
demonic is
Same thing as Hollywood.
Cat Williams, he said in an interview with Club Shay Shay, he said,
Yeah, I saw that.
this year is the year of exposing. 2024. He was right. On point. So,
Yeah, he was right. It's fucked up, man.
yeah.
It's really fucked up. Hollywood is getting exposed, man. Fuck that shit.
Hollywood is gay. Sorry.
Well, technically, you're right.
Yeah, I mean,
I think technically you're
Keep it
kind of
up,
right,
bro.
bro. Yeah, you're kind of right.
just say
That's
it.
not even. That's not even. Yeah, slurred. That's true.
Where do you see you know, obviously we're talking about like traditional Hollywood and music and all the like let's just say the traditional celebrities are kind of like not as influential anymore.
They're not.
Right? Podcasters, streamers, all this stuff. Man, I was looking at the like how much these streamers are making now.
Dude,
They're
NBA
making more
money
than
plus.
athletes, and you're just like, this is crazy. You know, obviously Joe Rogan's got his $100 million deal, and you know other, you know, I'm seeing like Pat McAfee signing fat deals, and just lots of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do you think the whole influence and streaming and all that goes? Are you guys prepping for anything? Trying to sell the podcast or anything?
Nah. You know, I do think that that streamers and political commentators that are like their own thing, like because X is now like the main news app, right? It's taking over mainstream media, and you see mainstream media pissed off, like, oh, we need to go ahead and censor some of these platforms where they're just able to say whatever they want to say, or regulate is a term they use, which is just a fancy way of saying censorship. But I do think that we're at a point now where the creators have the power. It's not necessarily what it used to be, where even with, like, if you want to talk about music, independent artists a lot of times are more popular. People can go ahead and go right to the musician. SoundCloud rappers became popular over the past couple of years. Influencers, whether you're a streamer, you're a podcaster, whatever, you can basically do your own thing, and you don't have to necessarily gatekeep through the mainstream media anymore, right? People are finding people through YouTube and Rumble and X and all these other platforms. So I think it's going to continue to go where influencers are going to be more influential than your traditional celebrities.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
I think it's going to continue.
So, into the arc of streamers and main players in streaming and YouTube and all that stuff, right? Tyson At, perfect example. He had the first record ever of 700,000 subs on Twitch. Incredible. I don't think anyone's ever come close to that or ever will, in my opinion. And he made, dude, okay, so one sub is between $5 to $10, right? Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Let's do the math real quick.
Didn't he get 1 million subs too recently?
Hold on.
No, 700,000, I think, because he did like
Plus.
a whole month stream where he was live for like 30 days.
So let's say $5 per sub, right? So 700,000
3.5
5.
million a month.
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
a month, right?
Yep.
That doesn't include sponsors,
No, he's probably
Hold on.
making 50 million plus a year.
ad revenue,
Yep.
and also as well behind the scenes deals. So he's made in 1 month pretty much like 10 mil off of that alone. So imagine now, enter the stage of like, as a kid, what do you see growing up? You want to be a celebrity, actor, rapper, or a streamer? You want to be streamers.
Well, that's why most kids now, they ask them the number one job. It went from like astronaut and doctor to like streamer. But the thing too also that I want people to understand, like young people, like this whole laptop lifestyle or being an influencer, it's not for everybody. It really isn't. Like we tell guys all the time, dude, get a trade. Like there's nothing wrong with being a plumber, an electrician, like getting one of these skill sets that can pay you 100 grand plus a year. You don't have to put yourself in crazy fucking debt with college. And then like you can go ahead and do a side hustle and make more money. If you want to be an influencer kind of on the side or do something, use that skill set and market that. But you know, I think the other thing too is that like this can set a dangerous precedent with all these young streamers. A lot of them are fucking kids, where people say, I want to be a streamer too. And then they're doing stupid things on Kick and, you know, ruining their lives because now they're doing dumb shit and that stays with you forever. So I think it's also important for young people to understand that like most people are not cut out to be internet celebs.
Yeah. I think the mental battle too.
Yeah.
How do you guys deal with the hate?
So fortunately for us, right? So thankfully I came from like a career where it was like I was doing real shit. So like the internet hate doesn't really bother me so much. Like it's annoying, but like whatever. Like
It sucks knowing Drake hates you.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough, man. But like I've seen like other people, like other creators where like they just only have done the internet, right? And like they hadn't had real jobs or whatever. And like for them, they're like, oh, this sucks, blah, blah. They're getting depressed and shit. I find it funny that anyone could get depressed while making this kind of money, you know, on the internet. And like, it's a blessing. So like, yeah, some weirdo in North Dakota wants to talk shit, whatever. But for us, the other reason too, why the hate isn't that big of a deal is because I understand that we got the truth on our side. We understand that we're going to say things that are going to piss people off, whether, you know, I talk about taking accountability and not being a victim all the time and blaming other people, or, you know, the issues of feminism, or I talk about other controversial things, which I won't say here, about a certain state in a certain place of the region of the world. You know, we got the truth on our side. And anytime you have strong beliefs, you're always going to have strong haters. So
Yeah.
it is what it is, man.
I think for most
I accept
people, they don't look at it as a job. Look at it as a like fun thing to do, which is streaming. But it comes as a mental block because, okay, look at it this way. Imagine working a 9 to 5 job, right? You go to work from 8 to like 5 and you leave, no stress, back to work the next day. Us is you're constantly thinking about what's the next content creation step, what's the next goal, what's the next video you can make. Now, enter in now the money you make. Disparity is way bigger than you can imagine. 9 to 5, maybe 50K a year, 100K a year, streaming, 100K plus every month possible. Who knows? Here's the thing though. As a creator, I say creators all the time because I think it's fun to watch them, how they grow up, how they go down. But I see that a lot of creators themselves have a propensity to look at comments. With comments, you kind of get pushed into a certain direction. And as a result of that, you become more of a puppet to your comments or to your people. And at that point, you become a slave to them. And that right there, you've lost because now, whatever they say to do, you do. However, as a creator, who are they watching? They're watching you. So if you made a content for what you believe in as a creator, they're going to follow what you believe in. Now, you may isolate some people in general, but in that sense of that path, you don't lose because you're, as a creator, doing what you want to do. That's the biggest thing.
And then the thing with us, one of the benefits for us is like we're so far, people consider us far right, that the people that rock with us really rock with us because we have very controversial takes on a lot of things. So the supporters we get are like real supporters versus like I never have to worry about like, oh, you said something that was controversial, brand deal gone, now they don't want to mess with you. Because here's the reality. I say things that a lot of people think behind the scenes or they wish they could say. I just fucking say it. I don't care. So yeah, I might not necessarily have certain brand deals or people might say, man, this guy's a risk or whatever. But I have undying support because I am who I am and I'm the same guy on and off camera. So I'd rather that than, you know, have to, you know, walk on eggshells. Like I've done podcasts with other people where they're like, hey man, like, you know, I know you're controversial, don't talk about this, whatever. And it's like walking on eggshells all the time. And I'm like, dude, that would suck where I would have to always worry about what I'm saying because of X, Y, Z. So to me, I think I look at it like I can't put a price on my ability to say what I want to say and not have to worry about it. Obviously, there's consequences to that, right? We've been demonetized, whatever it may be, right?
But you're willing to do it.
But I'm willing to do it because we got a loyal supporter base where we're like now I don't have to worry about anything. Like I could say what I want to say. And yeah, it does suck that we lose some money from being demonetized, but we're doing pretty damn well regardless of being canceled and shadow banned or whatever. And all of our haters wish we'd be gone, but we're not. And we're doing better than a lot of them, which is hilarious. Despite the fact that we're demonetized, we still do better than them.
Also, you can't cancel what you didn't create. So you can't cancel what you never created. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So if you got demonetized, like how do you guys make money as a podcast now? Where do the revenues come from?
Well, subscription services. Obviously, I got my real estate stuff.
Yep.
You know, we don't sell courses really. Like we put it out every now and then. We have like an Instagram course, but we put it out like maybe once or twice a year. What else? I'm trying to think. We do have some brands that we work with that are more free speech friendly, right, through Rumble. So yeah, man. You know, diversifying different ways still. When there's a will, there's a way. But I will say that like when you're like polarizing like us, the people really support you. We got like a great audience of guys that like just fucking get it. You know what I mean? They just get it. They're like, if you want to be able to speak about certain things and be truthful, you got to support those people.
Yeah, I have a lot of a couple of friends who have like masculinity courses and different things, and all that stuff. And so I mean they make millions and millions of dollars like training up men. So I was curious if you guys ever thought about doing something like that.
Yeah, we're gonna start probably doing masterminds and traveling next year. But for this year, we were really focused on like putting out as much content as possible because we film a lot. We stream Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, but then I'll like do late night streams sometimes every now and then if something trending is happening, and then we do 2 shows. So we're doing easily
10 plus.
We're doing easily like 10 streams a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we film a lot. So yeah, man. So yeah, we're consistent. We got a really loyal audience, big audience. We prioritize Rumble over YouTube for obvious reasons. You get donations through there and stuff like that. So when we stream, super chats and stuff. So our haters, really pray that we were down and out. But it's like I find it funny because like people say Fresh and Fit downfall, and I like laugh because I'm like, we get more views now than ever before, and we still get a bunch of views while dividing the audience across X, because we live stream on X, Rumble, YouTube, etc., and we still get more views than a lot of our haters.
It's funny. You look at one platform like YouTube, okay, 100K or so, but in all, X and Rumble together, we get way more views.
Way more views. So and that's kind of what
you just live stream them all at once?
Yeah, we multi-stream them. We multi-stream it. Like, and a lot of people say, hey, like that sucks because what ends up happening is like you divide the audience, which kind of allows you to not get the snowball effect. Yeah. Because like if you got like
all of it on X is gonna just promote.
It's gonna go crazy,
like
right?
YouTube.
Yeah. But like I look at it like we have multiple different audiences and different platforms, so I look at it like, we'll just, and then we a lot of times we'll cut the streams and bring them all over to Rumble because Rumble is our main, that's our home base.
Got it. How do you think the masculinity like content is growing? Because I know it really like took off a few years ago with Andrew Tate and guys like you and everyone else like kind of coming around all at once.
Yeah.
Has it kind of like plateaued? Is it growing? Like where's it at now?
So
like that niche.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that. So haters will say the red pill is dead and this content is dead. They'll say that because like the thing is this is also what I've realized like on YouTube and stuff. Commentators like reaction channels, they have a vested interest in saying things are falling off because that's how they make money. They, by virtue of the type of content they make, tend to sit center and just sit around and say things, but they're not necessarily in either of those any of those communities, so they don't really know.
Yeah.
So they'll sit there from like the center fence and say what they say, but it's not true because the issue is this. As feminism gets stronger, as men become weaker and weaker, there's always going to be this problem. And for like, we're getting new supporters like every day.
Yeah.
Because they're like, holy shit, like these guys are speaking about something that I'm experiencing that not many other people do. And then on top of that, like, there's a lot of masculinity coaches and stuff like that do whatever, but we're by far the most raw. No one even comes close because like we call it like it is. We talk about modern feminism. We talk about dating women in 2024. We talk about, we're still relatively young. I'm 34, he's 31. So like we are dealing with the stuff right now, real time. And then on top of that, we're willing to go the next mile and talk about why it's the way that it is. Like we don't censor ourselves. So I think our rawness, which is obviously, alienated us from certain people or sponsors, has also galvanized a lot of people to come to us because they know that we're not going to pull any punches. We're going to call it like it is. So some people said they're saying it's a dying genre. Not at all, because guys are fucking like suffering all over the place. And we're not going to sugarcoat it. I tell guys all the time, we have a call-in show where guys call into the show and tell us their problems. And I tell them, you're fat as fuck. You deserve to be miserable. You're a fucking loser, right? Where else can you get that? Right? Like you're not going to get that anywhere else really where we call it like it is.
No one's going to be real.
Yeah. So, the truth sounds crazy in a world full of lies, right? And people will sit there and say that we're crazy, but no, we just call it like it is. And there's a lot of respect for that. So yeah, it's, and when people say the red pill, like when I define the red pill, it's nothing more than the truth. Whether it's red pill on finances, like we've talked about before, real estate and building wealth through that way, or dealing with women in a modern society, or dealing with geopolitical sense of what's going on in the world, the red pill is nothing more than the truth.
I think people want answers. We have solutions, pretty much.
That's why they keep coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we could talk about so many different topics, but you know, for all these people that want to go and, you know, watch these streams, you know, X, Rumble, YouTube, just Fresh and Fit on everything.
Fresh and Fit. On X, it's Myron Gaines X on Instagram, and on X, I post a lot on X. I tweet and everything else like that, especially with the political stuff. And then Fresh and Fit on YouTube, Fresh and Fit on Rumble, man.
Also, we have a membership where we help guys become better in dating, crypto, mindset as well. It's called castleclub.tv. You can sign up for that and premium as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
we do a lot
Castle
of coaching
Club
behind the scenes.
Castleclub.tv.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll give you the link, and they could just join the email list and be on the newsletter and watch the show from there. We got like a whole chat. It's hilarious, man. Like you could put memes and all that other stuff. And
It's fun.
yeah. So when we're streaming live, they can put their memes, and when they donate in,
speech.
we sometimes, because like we have a lot of people watching, right? So we'll be like, hey, look, you know, super chat numbers went up to this amount, but if they're on Castle Club, obviously they get a discount. Read their chats on air.
Free members.
Yeah.
There we go. Join Castle Club.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, we'll link to all that down below. Go check them out. And thanks for watching this episode. We'll see you. Peace.